One meal a day is a great way to simplify your eating habits, but knowing exactly what to eat can be surprisingly complex. In this video, I'll show you exactly what you need to be eating. Hi Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and we want to talk about what you should be eating, give you a quick breakdown as to my favorite foods while following one meal a day. Now, if you're not familiar, 100% familiar with one meal a day, let me just break it down for you that it's simply fasting for 22 hours and eating all your meals within a 2-hour period. But knowing what to eat is where it gets a little bit tricky for a lot of people. Now, when we look at how you can break down your macronutrients are going to be your fats, your protein, and your carbohydrates. What you want to do is have somewhere around 50% fats, 40% proteins, and 10% carbs. Now, the specific foods that you're going to want to eat in these categories are as follows. So as we look at fats, and I'm going to give you some good ideas, some great foods that you can start with. As we look at fats, we're going to want to look at some of our good healthy oils. We're going to want to look at coconut oil, avocado oil. We can add butter and ghee and tallow to our good healthy fats list. We can also even add nuts and seeds, like macadamia nuts are loaded with good healthy fats. Now, when we look at fats, we can even have things like cheese or even good healthy yogurt. Now, also another good source of fat is pretty much anything coconut, okay? The coconut has really good healthy fats that you can add into your diet. Let's look at some of our proteins over here. Now, some of your good healthy proteins right here are gonna be things like eggs, grass-fed beef. We wanna get free range, cage-free chickens, wild game, so bison, deer, elk, any type of wild game meat, which is a little bit harder to come by for most people. And then also fish like salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. And then the last favorite protein of mine would be lamb. Okay, so these are some really good protein sources that are very easy to add in. And then let's talk about carbs. Now, when we look at carbs, we aren't thinking all the refined carbohydrates out there, all the white breads and pastas and pastries and bagels and toast and all that stuff. We want to stay away from those refined carbohydrates because they don't serve you any purpose as it pertains to good quality health. Now, if you want to have inflammation, a lot of health concerns, that's where that stuff belongs in those categories. But we want to have good quality health. So we're going to look at things like potatoes, maybe sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, tomatoes are even a good source of carbohydrates. And we have to remember that a lot of our carbs can come from good, healthy veggies, which we'll get to in just a minute. So our carbohydrate sources, we want to really get from good quality foods. Now remember, when you're consuming one meal a day, you're only getting one meal. You have to get all of your nutritional content from that one meal, meaning that you do not want to be eating a bunch of junk food. A lot of people mess this up. I don't want you to do it, so make sure that you're getting good nutritious food that's going to hit all the different macronutrients you need and all the micronutrients you need as well. Now, as it pertains to some of the percentages here, one of the things we have to remember is that this is really good for somebody who is probably 35, 40 and up. We have to remember that after the first 1/3 of our life, essentially what happens is we start to become more insulin resistant, or I should say resistant to insulin. And it's a natural process of aging, right? When you're young, you can eat the sweets and the carbs and all that stuff and you can get away with it. But as you become older, you can't tolerate it nearly as much. This is why when you get older, it becomes so much more important to make sure that you're exercising, getting lots of good proteins and fats in, and start avoiding the carbs more and more. So think of it this way. If you're 35, 40 and up, you want to start falling more into these categories. Now, if you're somebody who's younger than that, you can afford more carbohydrates. You can afford more protein easily, right? You can cut down on the fats. Now, if you're somebody who's exercising heavily too, one of the things I also will do is add a little bit more carbs and proteins and cut down on the fats, okay? So remember that your state in life and also the lifestyle that you live. Are you very active? Are you, stuck in a chair all day working and you're not getting any exercise in and you're 50 years of age? Like there's so many different factors there. So remember, if you are someone who is more sedentary or if you're a little bit older, you're going to want to fall into this category. If you're someone who's very active and younger, then you can afford more protein, more carbs, and cut back on the fats. Let's look at some of my favorite fruits, okay? When we look at fruits, I like to make sure that we're sticking to low glycemic fruits, okay? And this is because, once again, the sugar content, same concept that we talked about before. Are you somebody who's younger? Are you somebody who's very active? You can afford some of the more higher glycemic fruits. Things like mango and things like pineapple and bananas, those are all higher glycemic fruits. They have more sugar content in them. But for me personally, and also a lot of the individuals that I would work with, the patients, basically I like to stick in this area, right? Where we're getting the low glycemic fruits like the berries, because berries are very micronutrient dense. And as we're doing one meal a day, we want as many micronutrient dense foods as we can get. So we're thinking strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. All the berries are nutrient dense and low in sugar. Grapefruit's another good low glycemic fruit, and then Granny Smith apples is a huge go-to for me. I love Granny Smith apples because, once again, low glycemic. That's why they're a little bit sour. They're not quite as sweet, right? Now, our veggies. We mentioned that our veggies are going to really fall into the carb category. We're going to kind of look at these two back and forth here because vegetables are a good, healthy source of carbs, right? A lot of people think carbs and it's like, oh, I got to eat rice and, refined carbohydrate bread and all of this nasty stuff, right? We want to actually get to the good stuff that has lots of good nutrients in it, because when we're doing one meal a day, we only have one meal to get our nutrition from. So our veggies are going to be cruciferous vegetables. We're thinking broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, spinach. These cruciferous vegetables are excellent nutritional sources, loaded with good vitamins and good minerals. And we need these good minerals. If you're somebody who's doing one meal a day, all of that fasting will cause you to really need good sources of minerals, right? Otherwise, our electrolytes drop really low and we cannot feel so great. So lots of cruciferous vegetables. Peppers are also a very micronutrient dense food. And then squash as well. Now, squash is awesome because it can serve as a really good carb source. So if you're somebody who is more physically active and you're like, hey, I need more carbs, it doesn't mean you should eat more breakfast cereal that's loaded with sugar and garbage, right? No, you'd have some more squash, things that have that carbohydrate content in it, but also are nutrient dense. Now, when we look at foods, this is the type of thing we want to stick to if we want to successfully follow one meal a day. Let me know in the comments below, are you doing one meal a day? How long have you done it? Tell your story, and you can also encourage other people to jump on this bandwagon so that they can also improve their health just like you have. I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and if you like this video, check this video out next.